Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Meenakshi. And very nice to be back to you people again into this elite forum of Rasaratna Samuchaya Parayan. It's a wonderful experience to be with us in reciting the Parayan. That's a great job going on. So trying to give few of my inputs in respect to the understanding of few of the points. It's impossible to totally digest the Rasaratna Samuchaya because it is so deep rooted. It is having such a high knowledge. The way how we need to interact into it is really challenging. But still, based on that particular concept, I'm trying to interpret very few of the points of those kinds which could be possibly benefited. And I pray to the God, like possibly Rasa Vagbhata wanted us to understand many of such concepts to make such things do happen. And the science moves to the next generation. So based on this, let us start with the next portion of the chapter, wherein today here we will be discussing about the drug of the Maharasa, that is again the Vaikrata. Very interesting thing which we need to understand once we speak about the Vaikranta is this is one such drug which is not available to us. This is one way. And the second thing, we feel so like it's not available. This is the second thing. The next portion is something like it is very much available. Even making the basma is really very easy. Unfortunately, we did not attempt to do it. This is another step. The fourth step could be something like we want everything in a ready platters. There are possibly very least or no companies who are really preparing Vaikranta Basma and giving out into the market. There are very few of the companies possibly they are preparing, but it's really not very popular in the routine practice. So after 1 hour of our discussion today with the Vaikranta, you people will realize what is that you have lost in your clinical practice in case if you are not practicing with Vaikranta. This is a very simple and basic drug. And do believe me, it's very easy to prepare the basma of it. It's really not complicated. I do always think like making the basmas like Abraka, Tamra, Naga. Yes, they are. I don't say it is complicated, but it is laborious. You need to have lots of patience to do it. But it's not so in case if it is with the Vaikrata. It's quite easy to do with. And the basic problem for all these four pillars or these four questions to rise with is many people don't know what is the drug we need to take for this. So frankly to speak, I'm working a lot on this particular aspect. I'm trying to see what best we can really get it out to understand the whole concept of the Vaikranta Vinishchaya, what we can do. On every drug of Rasa Shastra, I put up my efforts to the maximum extent. Possibly you ask me to do this session after 1 week, 10 days, I can add up another few points into this. You ask me to do it after 1 month, I can add up more points on this. So it's a satata adhyayanam. This is very much needed once when we want to grow up in the field of Rasa Shastra. We are in our second year BMS wherein you read so many subjects there, and among reading so many subjects, if it happens like you don't do these practicals, might be it a simple Shodhana and Marana, you don't do it. It's very, very, very tough to really memorize the things and keep in mind like, yeah, this is the one. We get confused. We get Tutta and Kasis interchanged. Many times I see the students wherein the Shodhana Dravya of one drug is being mismatched with the other drug. And these things are practical. It cannot become a theoretical subject. And added to that, one more thing I would like to say is it's very true with Rasa Shastra, even with the clinical aspect. Unless and until you get these drugs prepared and put them into the clinical protocol, you will really not appreciate what the drug is. Even though I ask you to discuss about the Vaikranta Bhasma, or I ask you to practice with that of the Abraka Bhasma, you give initially to some patients with some permutations and combinations or trial and error methods. You get some small scale of positive sense, larger scale of a moderate sense, like might be it has acted or might be it is not acted in the patient. But still, I would like to say one thing. Eventually, as you go on practicing with it, you keep it on for a very long time, you get a hold on the drug. That is called a sadhana. Once you get the sadhana on a particular drug, it will start listening to you. You need to do initially the aradhana, the satata adhyayana, and later on the sadhana over it. You do a sort of a vashikarana. Might be you can really train your drug how it has to act in your body or in your patient's body, and that is how it will really act in the patient. That's a beautiful benefit what you have once you have the drugs of these kinds, like the Vaikranta Bhasma. So I would like to get to you people, like what really this Vaikranta is about. What does Rasavagbhata wants us to understand in this name of Vaikranta, and try to understand very few things how we need to go with it. So we have completed the topic on Abraka the previous time. So today we'll be discussing from the shloka number 53, wherein it starts with that of the Vaikranta. So the very first one wherein he speaks about is the method of identification. This is a key factor. I will say the treatment starts from the drug identification. You have Chatushpadas, wonderful. Among that, one thing is the Dravya or the Beshaja, wonderful. And among the Beshaja, one of the important criteria is the identification of the raw drug. And this has been totally been lost for few of the drugs in Rasa Shastra, and one among that is a Vaikranta. Because Vaikranta is a Sandigdha Dravya, one thing, and second thing is we have mentioning of Vaikranta by most of the authors in two places. One thing is in the Maharasa Varga, one more thing is in the Uparatna Varga. So we have two things there, and you need to really find out like which one is which one and try to use it in your patients. But anyway, we are trying to come up with this particular way of understanding with the Vaikranta as of today with that of Rasaratna Samuchaya, shloka number 53, wherein he speaks about Ashtasra Chastafalakaha Shadkono Masruno Guruhu Shuddha Mishrita Varnascha Yukto Vaikranta Uchyate. So beautifully is explained about the internal structure, the crystal structure of the Vaikranta. And frankly, to speak about, whenever we have this particular thing about understanding the Grahya Lakshana of Vaikranta, we really need not worry about the Sandigdhata at all. Because many of the drugs are really not like that. Many of the things like what is being taken as controversy, it's really not Ashtasra Ashtafalaka. Say, for example, many people have taken it as quartz, as a spatika. Few people have taken it as fluorospar. Few people have taken it as fluorite. Few have taken it as tourmaline. Few of them have taken it as manganese. So there are few things which people have taken it for Vaikranta. But still, the Falashruti, the basic identification, I don't know like why the people have missed. They just go for the Sattopatana, they just go for the chemical composition of it, and possibly they are giving an expectation. When you go, especially in the northern side of India, towards Punjab and other places, there are few of the Vaidyas who have discussed with me few times, like the quartz has been taken as Vaikranta. Many people, especially from the top, the middle part of India, might be it's towards Gujarat or some places in Maharashtra, wherein people are taking manganese as Vaikranta. It's not like I'm geographically separating them and trying to identify, but many people are taking it with the various drugs. Basic thing is most of the people are not utilizing this drug. Very few people who are really interested into this particular drug protocol are using various drugs. They're using various drugs. So you have fluorospar, you have fluorite, you have tourmaline, you have manganese, and you have quartz. Quartz is actually, we take it as spatika. We are not taking it as Vaikranta, but still people have taken it. So on that grounds, it's not like we want to give some taratama bhava to either of the people. We need to understand what is Ashtasra and Ashtafalaka. Asra is nothing but the edge. Asra, what Acharya is explaining is the edge in between the two planes of the crystal. Say, for example, you have a particular crystal. Imagine like this is a crystal, and what you have is a plane surface, and you have a edge on one side. You have a edge on one side, and again another phase of the crystal begins. Again you have a edge here. Again you have a plane surface here. So when you have this plane surface, whatever you have, or this edge, what you have, this are two components of the crystal, and you have this in all the crystals. And here what Acharya is explaining is, it is Ashta Asra, in the sense this edges what you have, or 8 in number. Ashta Palakaha, this plane surface, it is having 8 palakas. It is having Ashta Asra, Ashta Palaka. And it is having a Shadkona in the sense the corners. This corner you have, this corner you have this corner, you have this corner. This mobile is having 4 corners. Might be you take the front and back, it goes to 8 corners. But this particular crystal as Vaikranta, which is explaining it as Shadkona. It is having 6 corners. It is Ashtasra, Ashtafalaka, Shadkona. Means it is having 8 edges, 8 planes, and 6 corners, or a sort of pyramid-like structures where more than 2 or 3 edges will meet. So this is called as the Shadkona. It is Masruna, and also it is Guruhu. And this particular one, it is called as Shuddha Mishrita Varnoscha Yukto Vaikrantaha Uchyate. So this is what Acharya is explaining. And unfortunately, none of the crystals which we have taken it into consideration do have this particular format. Ashtasra and Ashtafalaka, based on the mineralogical language, it is only for the fluorospar where we have Ashtasra and Ashtafalaka. In very few types of tourmalines, you have Ashtasra and Ashtafalaka. Not in Spatika, no, not in the quartz crystals, and absolutely not there in manganese. Many people have taken it as manganese as well. I'll say why they have taken it as manganese later on. But still, manganese ore, you take it, it doesn't have this crystalline nature at all. Basically, manganese is a metal, and it doesn't have any of these crystalline natures. So, but still people have taken it on any grounds. The problem comes is, it's not like to blame any of the authors. The classical textbooks are very much right. But very recent authors have given on their own experience or on their thought process, they have equated it to a particular crystal. Possibly this is quartz, this is tourmaline, this is fluorospar. They have tentatively taken it, but people have confirmed it by themselves, understanding that because this particular recent textbook has given it with this equivalent. I will say, when you're reading the textbook, when you want to really critically analyze it, just delete the button in your brain about what all you have read from the recent authors. Try to focus on the Samhita, try to focus on your interpretation, try to get a format of it, and then read the other textbooks. Then you commit in a format like what you have analyzed, what the people are thinking about, whether you have derailed or they have derailed, whatever it is. Irrespective to these topics, let me speak about this particular drug, wherein it is said as Masruna and it is Guru. So this particular drug, it is Snigdha, which is to see like it is glittering or it is oily to look at, and also it is heavy. Shuddha and Mishrita Varna. This is one such crystal wherein you have a single colored crystal, like you want red, green, blue, yellow. Yes, it is available. Mishrita Varna, one portion is red, in another portion of the crystal is blue, another portion of the crystal is yellow. So it is Shuddha and Mishrita Varna. Yukto Vaikranta Huchyate. So this sort of crystal is being taken as Shuddha and Mishrita Varna is being taken as the Vaikranta. So these features are really seen only in fluorite crystals and tourmaline crystals. None of the categories which we have taken, like the quartz or any of these things, doesn't really fit into the Ashtasra, Ashtafalaka, Shadkona, and also they doesn't mix into Shuddha and Mishrita Varna. Manganese, for example, it doesn't have Ashtasra, it doesn't have Ashtafalaka, it doesn't have Shadkona. It is, of course, it is Mashruna sometime and it is having Guru. Definitely it is very heavy. Shuddha Varna alone, Mishrita Varna in manganese is very rare or it's not available. Yukto Vaikranta Uchyate. So it becomes so many features of the Grah election becomes a question mark. Whereas it's not so for the fluorite or for the tourmaline. So in the fluorite or tourmaline, it happens like you feasibly accept all these qualities. They are very much available. It's very easily available. So again, we have a differential diagnosis like setup for this, wherein we have taken is fluorite, tourmaline, and also we have taken manganese because 2 or 3 features do match. The next thing he speaks about is Shvetho Raktascha Pitascha Nilaha Paravatachavi Shyamalaha Krishnavarnascha Karburascha Ashtada I Saha. So you have specific colors which is being explained. These are the Shuddha Varnas, where you have the single colored crystal, and none of these colors are available in manganese. It's available in only one type, might be it is oxide form, then you have a bit of reddish color or blackish color in that, but still people are taking it as manganese. That's fine. Let us try to see what does our logic get us to a particular confirmation. Based on that particular issue, you have the fluorite crystal and tourmaline still matches all these, because tourmaline class and the fluorite class is a very wide variety of crystals wherein all these colors are really available in it. So on this grounds, we have taken 3 drugs, and out of that, tentatively 2 drugs are being almost shortlisted. Manganese is at a side track, but still we'll try to consider it. So we'll go to the next shloka, wherein he is trying to explain further things about the properties of the Vaikranta. That is the shloka number 55 and 56, wherein the Acharya is explaining the clinical utility of the Vaikranta there. So in the clinical utility of the Vaikranta, it is being explained as Ayush Pradascha Balavarna Karo Ativrushyah. So Ayush Prada, in case if you want to increase the longevity of your life, you want to have the Ayushya, where you want to increase the longevity of your life, you need to take the Vaikranta. You need to take the Vaikranta. Then it is going to give you Ayushya Prada. So it is going to give you Ayushya Prada, and also it is going to give you Bala, Varna, Karo, Ativrushyah. So he speaks about Bala and Varna. It is going to increase not alone your external complexion, it is also increasing the Dhatu Sarata. It is going to increase the Dhatu Sarata. It is going to increase your inner vitality. It is going to increase your Sarata. So it is Bala and Varnakara. It is Bala Varnakara and Ativrushyah. It is a very good aphrodisiac. No doubt, Vaikranta is a very good aphrodisiac. Pragna Pradaha. So this terminology is really very interesting to understand. Pragna Pradaha, in the sense wherein you have lost your consciousness, or the cells have lost its functionality. The cells have forgotten to do what is their function. They have misinterpreted their functions, or they have been misguided. For all these conditions, we have discussed this concept in the chapter of Apraka. So wherein it is also Pragna Bodhi, this is Pragna Pradaha. So wherein it gives the autoimmune system, in case if you have an autoimmune deformity, wherein your body is unable to recognize which is your body, which is your host cell, which is a foreign cell. Then your body starts to attack its own system. This is autoimmune disease. Similarly, the malignant conditions wherein you have one type of cells growing in a different strain or growing in a different organ. The cells have lost its feasibility of cell division. They grow irrationally and irresponsibly, and it is being named as cancer. So all these conditions wherein the prajna is being lost of the cell, then prajna pradaha, such a drug should be given. So it is good in autoimmune conditions, it is good in malignancy-like conditions, and also wherein the person is comatose, semi-conscious, or the conditions wherein the person is really psychologically ill. In all these conditions, to gain is prajna. Say, for example, you're taking a class and one of your student is dull or he's drowsy. Then what you do? You alarm him. In the same way, this is one such a drug. Giving it orally to the people, it is going to alarm the cells of the body so that they doesn't turn to be drowsy. It doesn't make the cells to turn weak or doesn't make them to turn drowsy. So this is prajna pradaha. It is going to give the prajna to the body. It is going to give the prajna to the body. So this is another functionality of the Vaikranta Bhasma. The next thing what he speaks about is Sakala Dosha Gadapahari. So it is good in all the doshas. It is good in Vataja, Pittaja, Kafaja, Tridoshaja, Sannipataja, Dvandvaja, what all types you have. It is good. And unfortunately, people consider like you have a reference stating like na doshanam, na deshanam. So Rashastra people don't look into the concept of doshas. Every shloka is speaking about the doshas. In case if you want to give Vaikranta, it should be Tridoshaja or Sannipataja or Ekadoshaja or Dvandvaja. In Abraka, we have learnt about it is specific in Vata Pittaja. So it is very specific like to the doshas, but unfortunately people consider like, no, we don't see about the doshas. So even based on that, some people have claimed like Rashastra is not belonging to Ayurveda because they never consider the dosha siddhanta during the practice. But still, it's a myth to understand it in that particular way. Here is the reference. Every shloka dealt in with the Falashruti explains about the doshas. So keep this in mind that even the rasa drugs should be given on the grounds of the dosha pradhanata. Here it is a sakala dosha gadapahari. So it is going to, it should be given in sakala dosha, any type of doshas. Wherever it has been altered, this can be given. Next is Deeptagni Krut Pavisamana Gunasthata Tatasvi. So wherein he speaks about it acts as a deepana. It acts as deepana. It is going to increase the gastric fire. It is going to increase the digestive system. Any drug which is acting as deepana, you need to understand that particular drug could be administered as per Ayurvedic norms in all the metabolic disorders. You have the enzymatic alterations, you have some hormonal imbalances in the body, wherein there is a derailment of the Agni, either it is Bhutagni or Dhatu Agni, in case if you want to consider it on the grounds of Ayurveda. So this Deeptagni, it is going to increase the Agni, might be it is Jataragni, Bhutagni or Dhatu Agni. On that grounds, whether it is wherein a hyposecretion of any of the hormone, any of the enzymes in the body, then we are supposed to give Vaikranta. Please don't take Deepana as only appetizer. It's a wrong statement. Appetizer is something different. We are really not considering here as only appetizer. Deeptagni or Deepagni is something like wherein it's appetizer plus something else. So we want to consider this particular thing in all sorts of Agnis. And later on, it is also having equal qualities as that of diamond that promotes the valor, wherein he speaks about the word Deepta Agni Krut Pavi Samana Guna. So Pavi is nothing but Vajra, that is the diamond. Pavi is a synonym of diamond. So Pavi Samana Guna. So this particular thing is having the equivalent property as that of diamonds. So this is one such drug which is having the equal properties as that of the diamonds. So let me tell you about one particular thing. I have spoken in my Abraka discussion about the volcanoes. So what happens there? The deeper minerals which are there beneath the earth are being gushed out through the volcano in the form of a lava, and sometimes it happens like there is air which has been trapped in between the lava, and the surrounding substance of the lava is having lots of minerals in it, which in the deeper minerals which were there in the core of the earth is being pushed out. So one such a drug which comes out like that is the diamond. So diamond is one such substance which is from the deeper part of the earth, which has been pushed outside through the lava many times, and that is being sprinkled throughout wherever the lava travels or wherever the volcano has really thrown the substances surrounding it. Then it is the diamond. I don't say this is the only source of diamond. This is one of the source of diamond. This is one of the source of diamond. There are two other drugs of this kind which are usually formed in the geodes of the lava. One thing is a diamond. The second thing is the fluorides. The fluorides are also many times being formed in this particular way along with the diamond during the volcano eruptions. And the third thing which you get that there is a peridots. Peridots is also called as olivine, which is green colored crystal. That's a separate entity, but still here for consideration, it is also grown along with the diamond, and it is being thrown out along with the diamond because both of these drugs are deep into the mantle of the earth. From the core, it is being pushed out in the volcano. So the source of origin is same of the fluorite and as well as that of the diamond. It is together. It is together. So here again he speaks about it is pavisamana gunaha. So it is equivalent to the properties of diamond because both of them have got a common birthplace. Both of them have come out in a common place and they have been formed in a common place, and also clinically they exhibit in a same way. So that is pavisamana guna. So this particular thing, what is being explained, need to again prove ourselves like fluoride could be one of the great possibilities of taking as a equivalent to that of Vaikranta because it is pavisamana gunaha. So it is having the pavisamana, it is going to definitely give you lots of benefits. Pavisamana guna, starasvi. So it is also gunasthat. So this particular one is also having lots of beneficial because it's going to promote you valor. It is going to give you achievement. It is going to give you a sort of a winning complexion. So this property in the sense your dhatu sarata is good, and also it is having its action on the mano vashrotas, which is making you to have positive sense of building yourself. So this is the reason why it is being explained in this particular way. Vaikrantaha kaluhu vapur bala lohakari. So this is again a very important thing because he explains like it can make the body strong like that of an iron. It can make the body just like iron. It make, the initial part of the shloka is explained as bala. So it is going to make it as strong as iron. It is going to make it as strong as iron. Vapur bala lohakari rasaineshu sarveshu purvaganyaha pratapavan. And this particular one is rasaineshu sarveshu. So in rasaineshu sarveshu purvaganya, this is one of the best variety of rasaina. And also pratapavan, it is going to, that only what we have discussed, it's going to make you valorous. You become very pratapavan, you become very valor. You achieve things by taking this. It is going to give you a success in respect to the rasayana, and also it is going to make you more eminent. It is going to make more eminent. Vajrasthane niyuktevyo vaikrantaha sarva doshaha. So here what Acharya is explaining is Vajrasthane, it can be used as a substitute to diamond. See, one thing keep in mind is diamond chemically composition is carbon, whereas fluorite or tourmaline they are having different compositions. It doesn't mean like the chemical composition is same among the substances. It means the clinical utility is almost the same. You're having a clinical utility of the Vaikranta and Vajra is almost the same. It is almost the same. So these are the benefits how we need to understand while taking the Vaikranta. Vaikranta Vajra Sadrusho Deha Loha Karomataha Vishagno Rasarajascha Jwara Kushta Kshaya Pranuta. So this is going to give you the benefits as Vajra Sadrusha Deha Loha Karimataha. So it's going to make your body as very strong and very supportive. It is Vishagna. So it is having, this is a very important phenomenon. There are few of the drugs which are really Vishagna, and there are many drugs in Rasa Shastra which are really Vishagna. And you need to understand this. Why? Vishagna is one such a tendency of the drug wherein wherever you have this word in the Falashruti, you need to consider many factors. It includes the bites, allergies, toxins, and also nowadays even the food, what we are taking, fast foods. It is something like lifestyle disorders. For all the lifestyle disorders, whatever all you enumerate in respect to the diet and regimens, diets especially, then Vishagna property is to be given to them, and that is very much possible by administering of Vaikranta. So Vishagna in the sense wherein we can give it for all such clinical conditions. Rasa Rajascha, and it is also benefited for Jwara, Kushta, Kshaya Pranota. So it is also good in all the emaciating conditions, including the cachexia, including the atrophy conditions. In all those conditions, we can definitely prescribe it. I do remember it in many cases wherein we have the muscular dystrophy, sometimes with cerebral atrophy. Any of the such conditions, Vaikranta is a very choosing drug, wherein we can administer it to the most of the patients. Possibly, I will say, if you give it in a proper bhavana, within 3 or 4 puttas, you achieve the Varitara. You achieve the Rekha Purna. Only thing you might not achieve is Nischandratva. Nischandratva needs some time, might be around 8 to 10 puttas. But within 3 puttas, in case if you are given proper bhavana, you get almost 99% of Varitara, especially if you are taking with that of fluorides. So they do have lots of benefits in giving to the patient with such drug combinations. The next shloka is shloka number 58, wherein he speaks about the origin of Vaikranta. It's a mythological origin. So I'll not go into the very details of the mythology there. He speaks about the Mahishasura, wherein goddess has assassinated him and his blood has oozed, and that blood has dropped into the various portions of the mountains, and which has been converted into Vaikranta. It is especially found, this particular Vaikranta is especially found in the northern and southern parts of the Vindhya mountains, and also it is having the property of cutting the other metals. So it is called as Vaikranta. So see, that part of the shloka is very important. It is oozed out from the blood of Mahishasura. Goddess has killed him with the help of a Trishula, and his blood has been oozed out, fell on the mountains of the Vindhyachal, and that is being converted to the Vaikranta. So in any of the conditions, if it happens like you have Rakta Kshaya, Rasa Rakta Kshaya, Raktam Raktena Vardati. So on that grounds, you need to give Kshaya condition of Rasa and Raktava Shroto Vyadis. You need to give them with that of the Vaikranta. Wherever you find the Rakta Kshaya conditions, we administer Vaikranta Basma to the patient. It is very beneficial to be given because the origin of it is from the Rakta. Might be it is of the Mahishasura, but it is a Rakta. So Raktam Raktena Vardati. So we are giving Vaikranta based on the mythological origin. So even the mythological origin of the drug states about the clinical utility of the drug. So every shloka or every aspect of the Rasa text is based on the clinical utility. The next thing is what Acharya is explaining as Vaikranta is Vajrakaram Maharasam. विन्द्यस्य दक्षिणे भागे रुद्धरे वा अपि सर्वतः विकृन्तयति लोहानि तेन वैक्रान्तः स्मृतः. This is the key shloka, the shloka number 60, wherein he speaks about the vikruntayati lohani tena vaikrantakah smrutah. We have done a differential diagnosis now. Like we have taken like what all the drugs we need to select. Might be we have taken to some extent about the manganese, we have taken tourmaline, we have taken fluoride, and all these drugs, in case if you still say like I'm really not satisfied with the explanation went till now, this is a key factor for your second confirmation, wherein Acharya is reconfirming his thought process as vikruntayati lohani tena vaikrantah smrutah. So this is particular drug, by adding it during the smelting process, it separates the metals. Or this is one such crystal or an element which can separate or make the metals separate from its alloys. You get an extraction. Might be from the chalcopyrite, you extract the copper and iron out of it. So how do you remove it? There are many processes of removing it. One such process is a smelting process. Smelting in the sense you take the ore and it is being heated. The metal part converts to a liquid state at a melting point, and then it has been separated out from the other portions of the crystals. So here vikruntayati lohani, in the sense this is one such substance which makes the metals to get separated very easily, quickly, and essentially. You're not supposed to lose your metal as well. So one such a drug, even today, more than 60% of the fluorides available worldwide is used for the smelting purpose. Fluoride is really not used for any other purposes, at least in India or elsewhere in the world. It is specifically, might be it is used for some crystal therapy or for some jewelry and all. It's a minor extent, but the major portion of the fluorides are being used for the smelting purpose. So when you have large amount of ores and you want the metals to be separated out of it, they do add fluorides into it. By adding fluoride, there it happens, the metal components of the alloy or the mixture of metals and minerals in the rocks which you are heating gets separated. It gets separated. And this particular process is being achieved by adding fluorides. And we are not adding tourmaline, we are not adding manganese here. And this is the reconfirmation of the Acharya, wherein he is telling like vikruntayati lohani. It is going to deform it, or it is going to re-establish it, or it is going to separate it. It is going to separate it. So on that grounds, this is one particular thing which has been explained by our Acharya as vikruntayati lohani tena vaikrantakah sprutah. So this is able to cut, or it is going to get rid of the blemishes made up of the metals. Even this is another method of it is being taken because this particular drug, wherever we are trying to take with, it's going to remove the doshas. It is going to remove the doshas caused because of the metals in the body. Might be it is acting as a very good chelating agent, wherein it doesn't allow the metals to get accumulated in the body, and then it has been removing it out. And to cross-confirm our thought process, in the previous shloka is explained the Falashruti of Vaikranta as Vishagna. See how beautifully they are being interlinked. It is Vishagna property, means it is a very good substance which doesn't make any of the metals and minerals to get accumulated in the body and show their toxic effect in the system. It is helpful in removing them. So it is helpful in removing the blemishes of the metals and minerals in the body. And also this is one such mineral which is very much essential for separating the metals and minerals during the smelting process. So these are the benefits what we need to understand on the grounds of vikruntayati lohani tena vaikrantakah sprutah. So you have many ways of interpretation, but anyway, because as a cross reference to this, the same type of shloka is available to you even in Kautilya Arthashastra. He explains about Kakanda Burjo. Therein he speaks about this particular way the fluorides or the Vaikranta, it is being used for separation of the metals. And also he speaks about the color of the sattva, but still we'll come across in the next shlokas. The next one is the varieties of the Vaikranta in the shloka number 61 and 62, wherein he speaks about Shweta Pita Sthatha Raktho Nilaha Paravata Pradaha Mayura Kanta Sadrusha Chayo Marakata Prabha Deha Siddhikaram Krishnam Pite Pitam Site Sitam Sarvartha Siddhidam Raktam Tatha Marakata Prabham Sheshe Dve Nishvale Varje Vaikrantamiti Saptadha. So you have the specific feature of each drug. So wherein he speaks about Shweta Pita Statha Rakto Neela Paravata Prabha Mayura Kanta Sadrushas Chayo Cha Anyo Marakata Prabha. So you have various colors of it. They are self-explainable. For Deha Siddhikaram, you are supposed to use the Krishna variety. Pite Pitam Site Sitam. So you want to use for the Swarna Nirmana, use the Pita Varna. In case if you want to do the Rajata Karma, then use the white variety of it. Sarvartha Siddhidham Raktam, for all the Siddhi Prapti, use the red variety. The Marakata Prabham and also the Marakata Prabham. The Sheshe Dve Nishvale Varje Vaikrantamiti Saptada. The other two, whatever you have, are really not of much useful. Where whatever you would like to take, it's of not much useful. Mayura Kanta Sadrusha Chayo Marakata Prabha Deha Siddhikaram Krishnam Pite. So this are the varieties which are to be taken. The next shloka, wherein he speaks about Etra Kshetre Sthitam Cha Eva Vaikrantaha Tatha Bhairavam Vinayakam Cha Sampujya Grunhyach Shuddhamanasaha. So wherein he speaks about in the collection area where it is available with the pure mind and only after worshipping the Bhairava and the Vinayaka. So it's in case if you people can remember it, even this technique is being explained for cutting off the plants. So he speaks about wearing a white cloth, Shweta Vastra, Brahmi Murta, go in the morning, offer the prayers to the plant, and it has been cut off, taking the permission of the plant because we are going to use it for the health benefits and not for any other purpose. Similarly, for the collection of the minerals, this is a typical example. Like you need to offer the prayers to the specimens, to the drugs, and even prior to the collection. Tatra Kshetre means where you have collected the Vaikranta, you should offer the prayers. Sthitam cha eva Vaikrantaha tatra Bhairavam Vinayakam. So you need to offer the prayers to the Bhairava and also to the Vinayaka. And after doing the puja, you're supposed to take it, collect it. The next shloka is about the Shodhana of Vaikranta. So herein, that is shloka number 64 and 65. It is being done with Kanji or Mutravarga or Kulatta, Kadali Kandarasa. You can use the combination of the Panchalavana, Evakshara, Tankana and all. It has been taken in a Dolayantra and it has been boiled. So I'm not going to go into the details of it, what could have happened here and all. So this is one such thought process wherein we can go for the Shodhana. Then the Marana is being explained here by adding equal quantities of Gandhaka, and also it is being Nimbuswarasa Bhavana in the shloka number 66 and 67. Usually it is being explained as 8 Gajaputas, wherein it can convert into the Basma. So by giving 8 Gajaputas, it can be converted into the Basma. My practical experience says I have done the Basmas of Spatika, I have done the Basma of manganese, I have done it of fluorides and also of tourmalines. Fluoride, tourmaline, and to some extent few types of spatikas gets beautifully converted with Lagu and Krodaputas. Not really with the Gajaputa. Gajaputa, we need it only for once or twice. Later on, the Puta process becomes very easy. It can be converted with a very small number of upalas, might be around 15 or 20 upalas. It converts into a very good Puta. So this is a way how we convert Vaikranta, that is fluorite and tourmalines, into Basma. In case if it is manganese, yes, you need lots of Gajaputa, because iron, it needs higher putas. We need around 16 or 17 putas wherein it converts into the Basma. Whereas Patika, again, usually with 1 puta or 2 putas. it converts into Bhasma. So that's quite easy to convert the most of these substances into the Bhasma. The next thing is, it is a Sattopatana of the Vaikranta in the shloka number 68, 69, 70 and 71, wherein he is explaining about the methods and the principles of making the Sattopatana process, and he is trying to make us to understand with the ways of going it. Next is the administration of Vaikranta. Again, he speaks about few of the Falashruti in the form of a combination. He gives, it's in the shloka number 72, wherein he gives you with a combination. So one part of Vaikranta Bhasma with a quarter portion of Swarna Bhasma, wherein it should be taken together with Pippali and Vidanga, and also with the Gruta. And the dosage is only 1 rati. He speaks about his Gunjamitam Sevitaha. So in the sense, you're supposed to take only 125 milligram there. And it is definitely useful for Yakshmanam, Jaranam, that is in the geriatric complaints, Cha Pandu Guda Jam. So it is also useful in Pandu Roga and also Guda Roga. Shwasam Kasamayam, it is also used in Shwasa and Kasa. Dushtam Cha Grahanim, Urakshatam Mukham, and also it is used in Rogan Jayet Dehakrit. So I want to have a universal Rasayana, a sort of a very ideal combination of Rasayana. You're supposed to take this combination. This is going to benefit any person for all the purposes. And this is going to speak about its clinical utility in Ekshma, Jara, Pandu, and also in Dushtamcha Grahani, Urakshata, Mukhan, Rogan, Jayet, Dehakrit. So it is also used for the Dehakrit. It is going to always build up or nourish the body. So this is one such clinical administration of Vaikranta. In the next shloka in 73 and 74, he explains about another combination wherein he speaks about the Parada Bhasma with half part, that is Suta Bhasma Ardha Samyuktam Neela Vaikranta Bhasmakam. So you need to take the Neela Vaikranta. He is very specific here. He asks you to take with the Neela Vaikranta, one part, and Abraka Sattva Bhasma equal to the above two. And he speaks about to take 1.5 portion of it and take it, and it should be taken orally with a dosage of 125 milligram. This is another combination wherein he speaks about Suda Bhasma Ardha Samyuktam Neela Vaikrantaka Bhasmakam Mruta Abra Sattvam Ubhayos Tulitam Parimardhitam. So mixing up all these things, it should be taken with a Kshaudra Ajya Samyutam. It should be taken with ghee and honey. It should be taken in the morning, pratar gunja matram nishevitam. So it should be taken in the early morning. Nihanti sakalan rogan durjayan na anya beshajehi. So you don't need any other drugs. He speaks about it can be taken for sakala rogas and also durjaya, where you have already lost your battle in fighting against the disease. Even in all those conditions, means in asadhya and kashtakara vyadis. Even in those conditions also you can take this particular drug. It is also useful in 3 sapta divasai nrunam gangahambha iva patakam. So this is very much benefited, just like the Ganga wards off your papa karma. So similarly, even the Vaikranta does that work. So Vaikranta is useful, and it eradicates all the sin, because Ayurveda strongly believes in the papa karma. So your papa karma is going to make you to land up into many disorders in this janma. So to rule out all these things, you need to take with that of the Vaikranta Bhasma. So I think here it ends the Vaikranta. Next we'll be starting from shloka number 75, possibly in the next class, with the Makshika. So any doubts we have here or anything like we need to discuss, I'll be happy to discuss with.
I think Dr. Ketki wants to say something. Dr. Ketki, please, you may ask the question. Dr. Ketki, are you here?
Yes, ma'am, but my point was cleared after the discussion when he explained the
Okay.
point.
Sir, there is one confusion. in the last verse in Vakrant Rasayan number 2, it's given specifically to take Neel Vakrantam. But where we have taken the types of Vakrant depending upon the color, they have stated that two are to be discarded. And in the commentary, they have given Neel and Paravat Prabh. So how can we deal with this? Initially, they have perhaps discarding this, and later on, they are specially indicating.
Madam, there the shloka is gone like Shvetam Pitam Tatha Raktam Neelam Paravata Pradam Mayura Kanta Sadrusha Chayo. So the Varja variety is a Paravata Prabha, the one which is really of grayish color or something like ash colored one. The next one is Mayura Kanta Sadrusha Chayo, where it is something like a bornite. Bornite is a metallic blue color. This particular Neela Varna, which he explains in the last shloka, is only blue, plain blue. There are varieties of blues. When you see the color shades, you have Persian blue, you have ivory blue, you have royal blue. So there are lots of blues. So among that, Mayura Kanta Sadrusha, this variety is something like what you see the neck of the peacock. So don't take the one which is having a metallic luster like that of the Mayurakanta. Mayurakanta is one what you see with that of Sasyaka. So this particular one is very much useful for understanding the Paravata Prabha or Mayurakanta should be Varjya. I think even from the other textbooks like Ayurveda Prakash and all, he praises Neela Varna.
So there are few more questions. Vikrantyati Lohani means, may we take it like it helps in the Maran of Loha?
No, in separation of the Loha, it actually distorts it. Vikruntayati in the sense it distorts, it spoils or it removes or it extracts. So it is used in the smelting process.
So again, there is a question regarding the Vinishte part. Like among fluoride and tourmaline, which one matches with the Vakrant Guna as the molecular formula of both are different?
I do very strongly believe and I take fluorite Basma because of this Vikruntayati Lohani, only this concept. Tourmaline doesn't do this function. Whereas Spatika, you don't have all the varieties which really matches there. So I do take fluorite in my practice. Even presently, I have 2 batches which is going on with Vikranta with as fluorites.
Sir, doesn't Vikrantati will be meaning related to the hardness part of tourmaline maybe?
No. That is Guru. You have the word there called as Guru. In the Grahya Lakshan, he speaks about Ashtashtafalakaha Shadkono Masruno Guruhu. That is hard. That is hard. Here, Vikruntayati in the sense which can separate it, which can cut it, which can remove it, or which can alter it. This is Vikruntayati, where you do the separation.
Again,
sir, what has been your experience regarding the use of tourmaline? Because what we have seen, we had a thesis work in Paparola where Vikrant was taken as black tourmaline. And the study was done on some Vajikaran effect, I suppose, if Meenakshi, if you remember it rightly.
It was done on Vajikaran and it was taken, and this was decided that it is black tourmaline. Rather, it was an extended study. Initially, it was taken by Dr. A.S. Rathore in his PhD thesis from Gujarat Ayurveda University, and then it was extended to his disciple. There he reinforced the fact that it is black tourmaline.
Yeah. The only problem taking tourmaline is it matches to many features like Shuddha, Mishrita Varna and all, but it doesn't matches to the Vikruntayati Lohani. And also when you extract the Sattva, say for example, the Sattva here in Rasaratnam Samuchaya is explained as Lohanibam. He speaks about 2 things. One is Mundanibam and Lohanibam. 2 types of Sattvas are being seen in Vikranta. So such a Sattva is really not extracted from tourmaline. Whereas from the fluorite, you get some sattva, which is metallic nature. From the manganese, again, you get this thing. Even from the manganese, you get a metallic sattva.
Sir, another question, is there any match of manganese with Vakrant and on what basis?
Because the Acharya has given has a Loha Nibam as the Sattva, wherein he speaks about what is the Sattva Patana of Vaikranta. The nature of the Sattva at the end product looks like Loha Niba. So people have considered Loha Niba in the sense it should be iron. So manganese Sattva is nothing but iron or manganese. So on that ground, so people have taken it as manganese, but still I don't want to take it as manganese, frankly to speak with. It doesn't match to Ashtasra, Ashtafalaka, Shadukona. It is not many times Masruna. It doesn't have Shuddha. It is having only Shuddha Varna, Mishrita Varna is not seen. And it is not useful as Vikruntayati Lohani. So for all these features, I don't want to take with that of manganese. It's a metal, it's not a crystal.
These are the questions, and remaining questions we'll post in the group only. With this, we can stop the session here. Dr. Praveen, I would like you to please thank sir.
Every time thanking sir, we don't have that many words, sir. But we are really, really grateful for all the enlightening sessions you take. And Vakrant in itself, because we have been always considering Vakrant as black tourmaline, because our Guruji believed in that, and we always took that only, and we got good results with the black tourmaline bhasma that was prepared at Paprola under the guidance of Dr. Rathod. Unfortunately, Dr. Rituraj could not join today. He would have been in a better position to counter whatever the theories are. But the best part is you are using it clinically, so that makes it sensible for us to understand that Vakrant can be taken as the fluorides also.
I use tourmaline basma, I use fluorite basma. You name it as Vaikranta or you want to name it as something else, might be, it's fine. But I do prepare both, I use it. Manganese also I use it, but I don't name it as Vaikranta. I don't want to leave any substance surrounding me. I convert everything into basmas.
Okay. So that's great, sir. So we can take it that Sarva Jagat Aushadhi. So that is the concept we are
Yes,
taking
yes.
here. So that's really wonderful, sir. And every time you're taking the lecture, it comes out to be at a different level, at atomic and molecular level. We are taking things. So that's really wonderful. And for us being students of science and still studying alchemy, somebody who has that approach to deliberate things as per the modern grounds, at least in ideologically, we are at a better understanding. So scientifically, we may or may not be that grounded, but still there's a understanding. Yes, this is possible, and this can happen. So that's really wonderful, sir. Thank you so much, and we'll be looking forward to reading Rasratna Samuchaya with you further also. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you all participants. Thank you for joining and making it a big success. Thank you, sir, again.
Thank you.
Good night. Thanks.